The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, thank you all for coming to PERMA's Risk Management Key Takeaways webinar. We appreciate you all listening in, as this was originally our regional meeting scheduled in Rochester, but we were very happy to make it virtual for you all. I'm Kimberly Freer, PERMA's event coordinator. Before we get started, I just want to go over some housekeeping items. All lines are muted at this time. Today's presentation can be found in the handout section to the right of your screen. Today I did upload it as a PowerPoint just because there is a couple of videos in it. If you do have any questions, you can ask them in the chat feature on the right of your screen. There will be a Q&A at the end of the presentation to go over them, but if you do want to ask a question during it, there is also the option to raise your hand and I'll unmute you. Before we get started, are there any questions? Okay, perfect. Then I would like to welcome our speaker, PERMA's Public Works Risk Management Specialist, Ed Starowitz, to start our webinar. Hi, Ed. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How am I sounding? Good?
Yep, you're doing great.
Very good. Well, I wanted to welcome everyone to the Risk Management Key Takeaways. Today we're going to cover 3 items. JSA, JHA's, the Job Hazard Analysis process. We're going to cover incident review forms and the best ways to get those taken care of. And then the third one will be the force plate technology demo that PERMA has available, and we wanted to make you aware that we have that out there. So with that, hopefully everyone is healthy and safe and working through this and taking advantage of the webinars. That's fantastic. The first question would be what is a job safety analysis? And with the job safety analysis, it is a procedure that helps integrate accepted safety and health principles. That's the definition that they have. What I wanted to help you with today is to get all the basic steps that are out there and how you would go through the process to get that JHA completed so that you have the safest jobs for your employees. One of the things that is out there, there are two ways of calling it. It's either a JHA or a JSA. Both are used together, but either one of them is a good way to look at it and get it done. Why do it? Well, first and foremost, you want to make sure that you take your employees into consideration and keep your workers safe. Secondly, there's the regulatory requirements are out there. For those of you that might have had a PESH inspection, they will come in and they will ask to see if you have done JHA reviews. Things like lockout tagouts. Those need to be reviewed, and how you would go about if you ran a wastewater plant. How do you take a pump down to isolate that pump and make it so that everything is shut down properly? Those are the kind of things the regulators would look at. You want to maintain your compliance for your municipality or whatever entity you're with. And the final one is you want to keep your workers' comp costs down, because that's a key factor. That's one of the big reasons we give the training. So that's a key factor. When you're looking at OSHA standards, they have got lots of ways of doing it, and the assessments are usually out there and done so that you can get to the point where you know what type of PPE you will need. I put CFR citations in your 29 CFR Part 1910 132. There's a few of you out there that know those probably just like you would the Bible, but I'm just going to highlight those that where it's performed in a confined space or other locations like lockout tagout, you need to have these done. And I will have available at a later time these forms available for you. And you're going to see my name and phone number and things like that with emails on it that I can make it available to you. This one is just, it's just an example copy, but it shows you what you would be looking at when you started the process. And I mentioned this already, the term jobs and tasks are commonly used interchangeably. When you're looking at something, you're going to identify a job, operating a grinder, using a pressurized water extinguisher, changing a flat tire. Those are the examples that are specific enough, but not too narrow. And I give examples down below where too broad of a one would be overhauling an engine. You don't have the specifics related to it. Or on the narrow side, you would be looking at something where positioning the car jack. You don't go to that level. That might be in the process, but you don't get into that to just do a specific JHA, JSA for positioning a car jack. So that would be, that kind of gives you the broad spectrum that's out there. So my question for you is, have you started or completed your JSA, JHAs? I put a big check mark next to the word yes. I hope you have, and I hope they're done. Some of you are gonna say, no, I haven't got it done. Some of you are also gonna say, JSAs, I don't have the time to do that. I will tell you, during this period of time, it could be a good one to start to look at and get a list of the different jobs that you have that you might want to address. And we're going to talk about where you're going to decide which ones those are. And then there's some of you that go, what's a JSA, JHA? And that's why you're here today. So if you want to, my numbers and phone numbers and cell numbers are on here, and emails. Please text me if you don't have JHAs in place. I will help you. Email me. I will get you started. And if you answered the bottom three, please get in touch with me and we can start working on it with you. But I'll give you more. The best means for conducting a job safety analysis. The best one is to observe the worker that's out there. So when you're going to be looking at this, as you get this set up, we're going to talk about transparency and different other things, but kind of put it into your head that, okay, I've got to get a list of jobs that I want to do. And then what do I have to do with it? Well, you want to get some people together. So you want to observe the worker. That's the best way. Don't do it in a vacuum. Don't have your supervisor do it, because the major advantages I note here is that you don't rely just on somebody's memory. You look at the process and you get all your people together. The best one of them, and it's my key approach, is to have a group of experienced workers and supervisors complete the analysis through a discussion. So if you were going to do something, we're going to use changing a tire as an example in the following slides. But the advantage, as I note here, is the more people that are involved, the better base of experience you have and the better information that you will gather. So that's a key factor with it. Then what you want to also have is not just the supervisor and maybe the employee, but you want to have, if you have a health and safety committee, those people should be somehow involved either in the review itself or once the JHA is completed to be a participant in the process to look at that. So those are the ways of conducting it with your people that you need to know about. The 4 basic steps, these are very simple, but it's going to be time intensive to some extent. So you have to select the job, and you're going to sit there going, well, I don't know what to do. What am I going to look at? Well, we're going to help you with that. And then you're going to break down the job into a sequence of steps. So once you pick the jobs that need to be done, you're going to say, okay, here's what is included in it. And I will give you a start example of what you would do if you were changing a tire. Then identify the potential hazards. And there could be electrical hazards. There could be all different kinds that are out there. Could be chemical. And there's going to be different lists that are produced from that. And then what you want to do is determine the preventative measures to overcome those hazards. And in that last part, that's where you generate your PPE lists that you have, and I'll highlight those to show you, that can help you so that your facility will be safe and your people will have the JHAs completed, the process and procedures in place, and then you'll also have a PPE hazard list that you can then share with your employees. What's important to know when you're selecting the job? Well, ideally, all jobs should be subjected to a JSA, JHA. That's the ideal state. You're probably not going to do that. There's too many jobs that you've got, and when I said that, you're probably sitting there going, "Oh my God, is he crazy?" Well, no, but that's what the regulators will be looking at, because they just might happen to pick a job that you don't have done. But if you've got all your factors in place and you've done a lot of them, usually that's a good way to look at it, and you can put yourself in a good mode. What you're going to do, though, is review the factors that could create your targeted JSAs in the jobs. That's where you would start. And I can be a big help with that, because as you'll see in the next slides, we'll show you how to get that list started. To set your priorities, what you're going to look at is, big one is accident frequency and severity. So for all of you that are out there, if you have not ever seen a claims register, talk to someone in your organization and ask them if they could share that with you. If you don't know who to go to, call me, email me, tell me you'd like to see it. I will help you, because that's where you're going to see, and I will help you determine the most frequent and most severe accidents that you have. And with those, you want to target those, because that's where you may get the biggest bang to get rid of the disabling injuries. Then you've got locations where there's potential for severe injuries. You may not have never had an accident, but the conditions are bad enough that maybe there's chemicals that are being sprayed, or something else that you've got going. No injuries have occurred, but you want to make sure that you've got that process covered. If you have a new job, especially one that's never been done before, you want to take a look at it, follow the person around, see how the job is done, and look at all of the potential items that are in that job that could be a hazard. And if also you have the lack of experience out there with your employees, there's jobs that sometimes are infrequently done that are also in the same mode as being a newly established job. You'll want to look at those so that you've got that job hazard analysis put together. If you modify a job, for those of you that already have your JHA, JSAs done, if you changed it, you may have created a new hazard. So you want to look at that job. How's the new job working out? Go through it, watch the person, have your team look at it, and see what changes in the job might require new procedures. Maybe you need new gloves or things like that. With the coronavirus, maybe as we go forward, your jobs may be telling you, we need to do something where all of our employees for this specific job, from a cleanup type situation, need to wear latex gloves now. You may have never done that before, and now you're doing it. So you want to relook at the different things that you're working with. And then your infrequently performed jobs, workers would be at a greater risk where it's non-routine jobs. You would want to look at those and target those. So I'm giving you a lot to think about already on your big jobs that you've got out there. So then you've picked a job. This one we're gonna be looking at changing a tire. So after the job is chosen, the next stage, as I note here, is to break the job into steps. Now what I'm hoping is I put this together very simplistically so that you could share this PowerPoint with your staff and say, hey, here's what I learned, and you can go through it and you can talk them through the whole thing, and let them know it's the best way to do a JHA. Because you're going to be looking and working with the employees. So using the form, you're going to have a sequence of events. And in this case, I took the starting of the changing of a tire. So you get a flat tire on your car. And I used an example that I thought everybody would know. So you park the vehicle, you remove the spare and toolkit, you pry off the hubcap, and then there's a whole host of other things that you might do. So what you're looking at is that's the first part of doing a JHA. You put a list of the sequence of events together. And then from there, you also want to, while you're doing this to strengthen your cooperation, let everyone know it's for transparency. Because some people, they're going to ask the question, why are you doing this? What are you looking at my job for? People, when you make change, get worried. So you need to let them know it's being studied to make it safer, to identify the hazards. And if we need to do anything to eliminate or reduce it, we will do that with modifications that can help make it a safer job. And then the workers, with their involvement, their experience contributes to making it a safer job. And then the job will be observed always during the normal times. So if some job is only done at night, you would want to do that job at night to review the circumstances surrounding it. I know some people will say, well, you can do it in the day and you can do it at night. Well, but if it's only done at night, you might miss something. I would suggest you try to do it at a time. If it's in darkness, do it at darkness, okay? So that you kind of get the same idea of what's going on. How to identify those hazards? I give you a whole list of different questions to ask yourself as you go through it. Can your body get caught in it? Are there tools involved that need to be looked at? Can your worker have harmful contact? Is it a location if you're working around pumps? In my past experience in wastewater plants, a lot of the sludge pumps would have waste that was collecting near the bottom of the pump. So you might have slips, trips, and falls. Make notes of those. Some of your reactions to those would be if you observe waste on the floor, you would hose it off, clean it up, whatever you're going to do so that it would be taken care of. Is there strain from pushing and lifting? Is there danger of falling objects? What's the lighting in the room like? Are you going to touch something that's hot or toxic? And things like fumes and vapors. So that gives you just a kind of a highlight. Those are the questions you're going to ask yourself as you go through it. Once you get your potential hazards out there that you've got in the sequence of events, then you're going to start to look at, okay, what are the hazards and the accidents that can be associated with it? So in parking a vehicle, utilizing that, you can park on the side of the road and the vehicle is going to be too close to passing traffic. So you've got a flat tire, you pull off and you're straddling the fog line, that white line along the side of the road. You could be on a road with a very narrow shoulder and it could be uneven and soft ground. Your vehicle could roll over. And as you go through these different things, you're going to try to highlight, what did I see? And write all those notes in the hazards section of it. And if you're removing the spare, what will happen with that? I can get strained. I can have a problem lifting the spare out of the back of the trunk or wherever it's located. And then in the prying off of the hubcap could pop off and hit you. The lug wrench could slip. You could hurt your hands. So those are the processes that you would look at in a JHA. And then how do you get the preventative measures put in place? That's going to be the final section. So now you've got the list of events that occur. You've found some of the hazards. Now what am I going to do? Well, the biggest one is eliminate the hazard if you can. If you could choose a different process, I will tell you this. If you are changing a tire and you have roadside assistance, it takes you out of the process. Changing the process means you dial your on-call number, they come out and they change the tire. So that's changing the process. Now that puts that hazard in someone else's domain, but your employee at that point is protected. So you want to look at all of these different things and techniques and how can I eliminate it? What can I do? Can I substitute it? That's the process that you would like to do. And anything else. Now in the modes I have here, I have improved the environment. Ventilation is one. Can you change that? With changing a tire, I don't know, the environment, you would hope it would be a sunny day and you're not changing a tire in a pouring rain or a snowstorm. But you got to look at those kind of things and what would you do? And then next thing would be to contain the hazard. Okay, you can't eliminate it, but what can I do to prevent problems with the person? How can I change that? And then revise the procedure so that you would then have the steps that were there changed out so that the sequence would be done properly. Sometimes people do things in the wrong sequence and it causes problems. So that would all be done in the review. And then the final thing would be to reduce the exposure and with the employees. That's one of the big things that you're looking at. So in listing of those preventative measures, please don't just do something where you put down be careful or use caution. That's too general. You want to have the specifics of the statements that are out there. So using that changing of the tire and then the potential hazards that could be out there, the preventative measures that present themselves for the first part of it would be drive to an area well clear of the traffic and turn on your emergency flashers. So you're basically getting out of the way of other traffic. Choose a firm level parking area and then apply the parking brake and leave the transmission in park and place blocks in front and back and diagonally opposite to the flat. Getting the spare out, turn the spare into the upright position, using the legs and standing as close as possible, lift the spare out of the truck and roll to the flat tire. With the prying off of the hubcap, you pry off the hubcap using steady pressure, and then you use proper lug wrenches. Sometimes there's a lug wrench in there, it may not be the one that comes with the car. And then apply your steady pressure to keep things in order. And again, if there were more steps, you would go through all of those that you would have in place. So once you've got the hazards and the issues that are related with all of those steps that are out there, and you've come to a conclusion, this is where you start to get it into a procedure. So you've got your JHA basically completed to a point, but your analysis is done, but now you got to get that to the employees. And here's an example here of a procedure based on that partial JSA we did in parking the vehicle. And it talks about drive the vehicle to an area well clear of traffic, even if it requires rolling on a flat tire. Because some of your employees, once you get a flat and they see it, they don't want to move it anymore. You may need to tell them to do that. And you would go through the whole sequence of these items to apply the brake properly and get everything taken care of. Then you'd want to remove the spare to avoid back sprain, turn the spare up into the right position, stand as close to the car as possible, slide the spare close to your body, lift it out, and roll it to the flat tire. So you would go through all of those processes and write them up. In the forms, this is a blank form that's out there. I had one in the very beginning. I have different forms that are available out there. If you wanted to put one together, you can build these yourself. This is basically what you're looking at, but this is your job safety analysis worksheet. That's what you'd like to see when you start and have all your different items. Doesn't have to be done in one day. As you note here, it's got who was analyzed, who was reviewed by, who was approved by, and how everything was done. Get it to the best of your ability to be completed. And then if you have hazardous materials and physical agents, this is just a little bit different. This is not the process itself, but if there's materials that are out there, they should be listed in relationship to the task that you're looking at and where they would be located. And then the final thing is if there's hazardous chemicals, then you put the chemical in there and how the entry to the person would be, whether it be an injection or inhalation or whatever, and what the controls would be to be in place. The last couple of items don't necessarily have to be for every single job, but if they do occur, you'd want to have those sheets attached also. The final thing is, or near the final, is that there is an OSHA publication out there, 3071. I think it's about 50 pages long. It gives a whole process, a lot of highlighted items. If you're a data person and you'd like to go through it, you can look it up on the internet. It would tell you exactly if you put in OSHA publication 3071, and it would help you to understand the entire process that's out there. I'm trying to give it to you in simplistic form so that you could do it on your own. Once you get those JHAs, what you end up with is, I note here by title that you've got a heavy equipment operator. And these jobs are just a little bit too broad, but in driving a truck, you will notice that I've got on here that some of the hazards are foot injury, falls, hand injury that could occur. So when you did a job analysis of how the driver, how to drive a truck, could be an international truck or whatever you've got out there, a plow truck or whatever, you may want to have one of these job hazard analysis done. So you would come up with those items in your process that were PPE that would be required, or hazards that are out there. And then the PPE that would be required would be gloves and safety shoes that you would need to have the person be protected. So these type of forms here are put together. We've got them available for you. There's another one here. This one's for manhole entry. And the manholes, as it notes up at the top, it generates it for the different manhole entries, sewer construction inspections. A lot of building inspectors have to do sewer construction inspections sometimes, and with that, they would have to enter a location. So you would want to follow them on their job, find out what they would be seeing. In this one, it happens to be noted flying particles, foot injury, head injury, heat and cold, could be some chemical exposure, noise, and there could be gases. And then what you would want to make sure is that that inspector has protective clothing like Tyvek suits, face shields on, gloves, rubber gloves, they have work boots. All of this would be generated from your JSA, JHA. And then in the end, there's the one with gas, special things that are needed, and that would be a gas detector that you would have to have, and you'd have to have special training for that also. So this would help you with your departments to be able to identify what jobs were hazardous and what would be needed. In the town of Vestal, they have their PPE chart used where the employees know each day what they're required to take on a job regarding their PPE. And I just wanted to make sure you saw this. They have it by their back door as you leave the facility. And on the left side is all of the different functions and tasks that they have. Then there's the hazardous exposure across the top with an H, and then their personal protective equipment that they've got for different items that are required. And they have the people go out on the job looking at these different items saying, here's what you need to take with you, and that helps. So those are the different things that have been done by different people to get their JSA, JHAs done. If you have questions, please, you can raise your hand, or at the end of the webinar is probably the best place to do it. We will continue with those. The next item is the incident review form. When you look at the PowerPoint, you're going to see these website locations here where there's YouTube videos and the different forms that are available from the PERMA website and then on YouTube. The YouTube one, I think, is 26 minutes long, I think it is, and it talks you through the whole incident form process to help you. If you missed what I'm giving you here in the highlights, you'll be able to look at it there. And then the form itself is available on our PERMA website. So we're going to get into the instructions and guidance of the incident review form. And one of the biggest things with the form is that we put it together as a risk management team, and we want you to be able to look at your injuries that occur and drill down to the root cause analysis. And then what you are able to do is once you get that form completed, you'd send it to us, but you'd also use it at your safety meetings. So in the dynamics of a well-formed organization's safety committee and safety processes, you would have good training, you would have a good safety meeting that would bring up issues that you have out there. And then if an incident did occur, you would be able to use the incident review forms and bring it back to your safety committee and discuss all those different situations that you found to correct problems. And then PERMA, by getting the data, we start to build a database that we have on different jobs that occur and different injuries that occur, and try to then formulate different interventions that can say, we're seeing a pattern from our members, and from that we're able to then report back to you guys and help you understand how to improve a job. But one thing I do want to make sure is this incident review form should never be the first thing you do. You should always do your C2F forms and make sure that all of your other workers' comp forms are done first. The incident review form would be done after that. But you should try to do it as soon as possible, once all your information, your statements, and your involved parties are available. Don't go to the guy's house or the hospital and try to find out exactly what happens if you have a person that's severely injured. Let them return back to work, but get as much data from witnesses and everyone else that you can. The bottom line, as I noted in the beginning, drill down to reach the one root cause that's out there. When you look at the form, eventually you'll be able to see one if you haven't already reviewed it, but one side of it on the first page is general incident data. That's just general things that you go through to fill out. The second page comes down to contributing factors that are out there that you're looking at, and you'd want to put those all together, because that's going to help you, whether it's environmental or workplace, to drill down to the root causes. And then third page is going to have more contributing factors and root cause options. And then the fourth page brings it down to the finalization of root causes. But we want to make sure that you have a supervisor who is completing the form and checks it off and notes it. And then when you're done with it, you would be sending it on to PERMA. The last page, page 5 of the written one, and we also have it in a PDF fillable form, but what this comes down to is the last page is, okay, I had an incident, and what am I going to do to prevent it from ever happening again? And a lot of people tell me, you can't do that. You can't ever stop an incident from happening. Well, you can reduce the frequency, the severity, and hopefully maybe you can get it down to that not everyone, but a lot of organizations could have no injuries. So your resolutions, though, come via engineering controls, management controls, the proper PPE, and I call them the 5 Ps: policy, programs, plans, processes, and procedures. That's all on that last page. And then down at the bottom of that last page, there's a signature where we try to include top management and leadership so that they are aware that an incident happened. One other thing that's included in there in the incident supporting documentation, there is an MV-104A form that should be filled out, especially if you have a motor vehicle accident where the damage is assumed, and I'm saying it that way, to be over $1,000. We ask you to fill that out because it'll help you make sure that all your paperwork is in order, but it also sometimes gives us a better bit of information. We can get the information, you can submit that as a form to us, and it may give us additional information that maybe you didn't see that we're able to review. But it also serves as a reminder to close out your liability insurance issues and your DMV requirements. That's not a PERMA issue, but we're trying to help you on that also. For your witnesses, make sure you get witness statements that are collected from each individual. The other thing is separate the witnesses. I have found through my many years of experience with Public Works and now with PERMA, if you get the witnesses all in one room at the same table, they lean over and go, "What did you write? What did you write?" And all of a sudden, all your witness statements are exactly the same, and it's not exactly what happened. So try to separate the people, let them all write it down, bring their paperwork back together. If all of them pretty close jive, then you got a good bit of information. If you've got examples that are extremely different, now you got a problem, and you got to try to figure that out. That's where you become the real investigator in these things. We can assist you too, but that's where it might be a little more problematic to get the conclusion. On the printed forms, please give us any injury data that you can have, and if there's a second sheet needed, fill that out. And then the detail, give a brief account of when the injury occurred, what happened, what the injured worker was doing when it happened, and who else may be involved. You're basically, if you can't remember anything else, tell us the who, what, when, where, and how scenario. That'll get us through the whole process. In the form, we try to identify underlying factors that are out there. They may not be related to an employee. And it's just things that I'm going to use snow and slush in this example slide here. The employee gets out of the car and maybe there's a pothole with snow in it and there's ice. So you would have a factor. You'd check snow and ice, you'd check the pothole, and you would check the snow slush box on there. Because no matter what the employee did, at least as in this incident, maybe they couldn't have taken care of any of those issues. I'll have some examples of how to get around that so that they can prepare themselves a little better. But the incident has already occurred, so you want to try to figure out what can I do and what can I do to resolve the problem. If there were workplace issues that were contributing factors, we've got a list of possibilities on here. If lighting is out there, maybe the people are working long days. If any of you have people that work 4 10-hour days and your incidents are occurring in the last 1 to 2 hours of the job day, maybe that's something you should consider to be a potential for change of your shifts. As you review the questions, though, I give an example here. I thought John was trained to use his respirator, but I'm not sure. Well, find out. Did we complete the corrections from the last incident? On here, there's a section that says the corrective actions prior corrective actions were not in place. Did you, as the employer, fix it? Because if you didn't, you need to belly up to the bar and say, yeah, that might be my fault. So those are the different things that you need to keep track of. But keep asking questions. Again, more root cause items. The slips, trips, and falls, if it's on the same level, were they running? You got to ask those questions, check the boxes. Even if you think something is going on out there, put it down, at least to start. We can eliminate it later and figure it out. But we want you to get through this so that you could potentially highlight the root cause. And then in the incident section, again, I kind of covered it in the beginning, the section where you'll help determine the root cause of the accident. You want to get all of that, the controls in place, the PPE, the policies, the procedures, any of that stuff that you've got, you're going to initiate it and come through with it. And then you'll always want to have an action item and a person assigned to that. For those of you that are doing the incident review form, it does not have to be you. You do not have to carry the weight of the world and get everything completed. So make sure that you have other people available that can assist you with it. And then the follow-up. Once you get all your items identified for the fix, it could be temporary fix. I'm going to use an example. Somebody tripped in the office over a carpet that was torn on the main carpet. It had a wear spot in it, and it finally wore through enough that it flipped itself up, and people got their shoe hooked in it, and they fell down and they hurt their hand. Okay, well, the temporary fix would be get a section of carpeting, maybe a 4x4 piece, and put it over that spot. Or this would be ugly, but put one of the cones that your highway crew has over the spot, or one of those wet floor location things just to keep people from hitting it. That's the temporary. That's the short term, a couple of days or maybe a couple of weeks. The permanent resolution would be, I need to call somebody in from a carpet company, and I need to have the entire carpeting in an office area changed out. You're going to tell me, well, we don't have any money to do that. Okay, well, your temporary fix may be on for maybe 3 to 5 months or a longer period of time, but you need to resolve it. So you got to take care of that. This form helps you that you get the resolution done, give up the follow-ups that you needed, and then if there were procedures or other things that were needed, you would then go back to your employees. If it was something that needed a new procedure, go back, get the employees retrained, then go to your safety meeting and share what you did and how you did it and what was going on. And some people, if you only have quarterlies, you should share also at your quarterly safety meeting. And I make the suggestion that on a periodic basis, either every 6 months or annually, to review it with your town board or your village board or what other entity you have fire departments if you have a board of commissioners. They should be appraised of what the incidents that happened and what the resolution was. So that's what you want to make sure you've got in place. And then finally, the last review is to add the top-down management. I mentioned that already a little bit. But the question I ask here, and I highlighted it in yellow, is how many of your mayors, supervisors, county executives are aware of this month's accidents? If they're not, ask yourself the question, why not? And that's where you and your safety committee could get a little bit of time, get on the agenda, and share that with them, or at least have a meeting with those individual members so that they could share it with the boards and anyone else that needs to know about it. Because you want to let everyone know, especially if it applies to them. If something was in a highway department, it probably applies to a parks or a sewer department. Maybe not so much with the town hall if it was operating in a manhole, but that's the kind of sharing that you want to make sure you have, and these forms help drive that. So in the review, you're drilling down and you want to prevent future occurrences. That's the key. And our risk management staff, we use these forms, like I said, to help compile data, and then the possible resolutions that we can get, we will share with all of our members. Again, questions, if you have them, either raise your hand or we can get at the end of the webinar. The next part is the force plate technology demonstration that I'm going to talk to you about. The picture on the left is a truck. I think it's a 6-wheeler, and the step is a 19-inch step. And where you can use this force plate technology is in the entry and exit from especially these type of large trucks. And I've got set up in the middle picture, we've got an open door on the truck, you've got your steps on the truck at 19 inches and 39.5 inches on this specific truck. And at the bottom, there's a force plate that's there that they would step onto and off of. If you look just to the left of that, towards the front of the truck, there's a screen that's on there, and there's a computer that's mounted on the back of that. What I do is I have the employees exit the truck the way they normally do in their daily work. That gives me the first setup that they do. And then secondly, what I do is I have them do the 3 points of contact. So in your processes at your facilities, what you want to have them look at is share 3 points of contact with your drivers. I think I've got toolbox talks that are available on 3 points of contact, and if I don't, I'll get them out there. But question for you all is, do you have drivers that jump out of trucks or loaders? Because if they do, they're going out the wrong way. They're not doing the 3 points of contact. If you have people that climb out of trucks with a coffee cup or get into a truck with a coffee cup, they're holding it in one hand and they're using the other hand to get up into the truck, they're doing it wrong. So if you've got answers to those two questions that are yes, call me. I can help you. I can show your people how the best way to exit and enter trucks are. If you were not tuned into that and you just want to do 3 points of contact with your staff, I can give you that information also. But we can offer guidance on the proper exit and entry from a truck. And here's examples of the typical egress setups. On the left, the motor equipment operator is exiting the truck properly with the 3 points of contact. He's holding onto the different parts of the truck. He would be stepping onto that force plate to get the impact that would be occurring. And you're going to see there's a quick video that I've got of the people that can show you how it can be done. In the middle one, the high impact body points that are out there are the key ones with the red dots on it. Those are the locations. Every time one of your drivers jumps out of a truck, face first, coming out of the truck, they are putting those key locations into high impact and futuristically are setting themselves up for a body failure that could be an injury. And then on the right, I've got the another garage location at another member facility I went to where we operated again the same way. So what we found, and working with in Biodyne, that the injuries, the accidents usually are due to improper egress of the vehicles. NASTA says 24% of all non-crash accidents are due to entering and exiting vehicles. So you can get acute injuries. You jump out of a truck and get a sprain, that's an acute. What we're trying to do is point out the potential for those acutes, but also to reduce the chronic. And that's why I come out to job sites, because of the joint issues that are out there. And it becomes a persistent problem later on. You'll get almost like the carpal tunnel setup. This is the same type of thing, but it's for the guys getting in and out of trucks. So what we try to produce for them is the proper egress technique. I talk to them about the 3 points of contact, holding onto the handles, the proper egress techniques, and it's crucial to their safety. And then we give the presentation of the video of what they've got and show them that, which you're going to see here in a few minutes. And then when they're coming out of the different pieces of equipment that they've got, you always want to make sure that they've got those 3 points of contact, because the potential for injury exists. And it's the high impact locations that are out there. The people fail to hold on to the handles and they get hurt. So what we try to do is send the message. We've got a good technique for you. Usually, and you're going to see some of the numbers that are here, that the truck will show you some impact, like carrying a truck on your back or an aircraft carrier the whole year. When you show that to a 21-year-old new driver who's just started with the municipality, and he jumps out of the truck and he's got 1,800 pounds of impact when he really should only have 200, their eyes open up and it helps them and it sets the tone. I better start doing the 3 points of contact. With that, though, we do show, I already have mentioned a little bit, performing the vehicle egress. I let them do the 2 points of contact, or however they come out of the truck. I watch them so they don't get hurt, but I want them to see the way they're doing it's going to be wrong, and then I show them the proper way to do it. And that helps a lot. Usually in a group of 5 or 6 that I might have at a location when the drivers come out, the first 2 do it, and then everybody else doesn't do it the wrong way. They always go, this is the way I always come out. But at least they start to see the impact, because they've never done it that way before, and when they come out the first time, it's still pretty high. So the impact forces are displayed. They're showed on a computer. I show them the difference, and then we bring them through this training. We give them all that information, and it shows them in a real life stage how much impact it is on their body. So what I'm going to do here is I've got a training video, and I'm going to talk you through a little bit of this. And it's got the force plate down here. There's the data capture information, which is basically the computer. There's a TV screen that is here that they look at, and the driver gets in and out of a truck. And I'll start it now for you. And here he is coming out improperly. And then we have him do it again the right way. Oh, excuse me. He's doing it the wrong way to begin with. And then he does it. And here you'll see the computer printouts. And in this case, he was carrying a small truck, the difference each day from the impact. And over a whole year, a super dump, 270 tons extra per year. So this egress training system, it is portable, yes. It comes with the force plate, and we set it up near the driver door. I bring everything. PERMA's staff, if I wasn't the one doing it, someone would. We can bring it out to your location. We just need to be able to set up a computer, the laptop, and the TV, as you saw in some of the different pictures I had, at a location where at least we would have a little bit of space. I can move it to different trucks if you have different trucks that you want to have in place, or loaders or whatever. I can move it around. I would hope that you can make an appointment with me. And we're on hold at least for a bit here because of the coronavirus. But once we get through that whole process, will be available. I've got my cell phone on here. Please call me. You can email me. If you just need to talk about any of these things, the system or anything, we can do that. So now I guess we'll review submitted questions. Are you online right now, Kimberly? Don't know if she's available or not.
Yes, I am. Sorry, I just had to unmute myself. So if you are ready, do you want to start submitting any questions if anyone does have them?
Yeah, let's do that. Put the questions in and we can take them. And we seeing anything?
So not right now, no questions, but if you do think of any questions and you want to email us later, you can email Ed directly or our member services email. That's memberservices@perma.org. And since this is our second webinar of the week, we were receiving a lot of questions of where to access our webinars. So we do have a YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube and search PERMA NY for New York, PERMA New York, you'll be able to see all of our recorded webinars. The one from Tuesday is up and today is being recorded as well. And we'll get that put up as well for other people to view.
And I hope everyone, we haven't gotten anything yet?
No, no questions.
Well, I would hope that everyone got something out of this. These are the key takeaways that you would have in a good process with any organization. We would hope that you've got your JHAs, JSAs in order. If you need help with safety committees, with any of your incident reviews that you need to do, if you've got questions, please feel free. You can email us at PERMA, or you can email me. You've got all my emails. You've seen that in my cell phone number. I'm open to any of those conversations to assist any of our members with any of their issues you've got. But please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'm glad you were able to enjoy our webinar. And with that, I will thank you for participating. And anything else, Kimberly?
I think that's it. Thank you so much, Ed. This was wonderful, and thank you all for coming. I know it's a rainy day, but I hope you guys have a great rest of the day and a safe and healthy weekend.
Thank you.